Oh. What's up, everybody? Happy Saturday.
Happy Saturday.
Come on, how's everybody doing out there?
Get on here and you realize there's
it's like
funky things happening.
You gotta fix yourself up a little bit.
Well, I tried.
Not you. I just mean in general, us. I gotta fix the focus here, too.
How's it going if you're here?
I wasn't saying you need to fix yourself up.
Look at how you spelled everyone.
I know.
Young.
I know. It was an accident.
I love it. How's everyone doing on this beautiful Saturday morning? I hope you enjoyed the weather last night. This whole week has been just lovely. The Lings are with us. If you're here, give us a thumbs up.
Give us a hi. We got about a handful of folks with us, and that's all right. We're with you today.
We want to interact with you.
Who's here? Tell us. I need to add our logo too. If Miss Ling was here seeing this, she would be like, "Why is there no logo?" So I'm going to add a logo while you're talking. Check this out, how cool I am.
Andrew and Brittany are starting on separate feeds. I don't know. Does that go with this parenting conference? Should you not be on the same feed?
They're probably watching on the computer, but they're on there. Of the few people here, they probably have 3 of the view watches. The viewership on here.
Oh, I know, right?
So we probably have 2 people, and Andrew and Brittany are 3 of them.
Laura and Tyler are here. Hi, Sites family, and Andrew and Alana. Nope, that's wrong. Nope. James and Alana.
Okay, here comes the logo. Oh, look at that.
James and Alana are here.
How
Good
big
to
that
see
is.
you guys. Nick, hi, how are you? Glad you are. Oh, Brittany Link says, guys, we're at the skate park. We'll be honest. Fair enough. It's a beautiful day.
I get it. It's okay.
Nick, how are you? Good to see you.
Lucky for you, Brittany and Andrew. We're together for an hour, 45 minutes. So you can go back. You can know that we're not going to be here all day with each other, but we are going to have a good time. Oh, there we go. I'm going to bring Jessi in. Do you want to come in, Jessi? Okay. She wants to come in, everybody. She wants to. She's begging, please bring me in. I'm going to bring her in right now. Here's Jessi. What's up, girl?
Woohoo! Hey, guys.
Come on, how's it going?
Pastor Jessi.
Come on, we got Alyssa with us. And come on, as you mentioned, did you say hi to Nick yet?
I did say hi to Nick. So glad you joined us. I saw your registration popped up this week, and I was so glad to see that.
This is a bit of a problem, isn't it?
Exciting.
Let me fix this here. That's better. There we go.
And
come on, we got Alyssa. And who else is with us? Come on, we got a bunch of folks. Laura, Tyler. I saw Tyler yesterday at Canadian Tire, but he was like way over in Shaughnessy, and I was like, why are you way over here? You live in Woodbine. And I just felt like he was like retreating. It was like, one of those moments where he's like, goes to the farthest store away possible on the longest drive possible. And I was wondering why he was doing that. I thought maybe he was trying to have a little reprieve from his family. Maybe?
Tyler.
Funny. Well, if you already haven't got your coffee, I hope you had a chance. If you were at my house, I would give you a cup of coffee. I wish that we could be together. We so badly wish that.
I told Steph today that when we get into this new facility, God willing, for 4 months, that we should do another parenting conference, re-show some of the content together, and have our own kind of experience. So I think we might do that. I think that would be kind of fun. But did you see what Andrew said to you, Jessi?
Yeah, so off-brand that I'm not outside.
It is very off-brand, I gotta say.
It is, but I have to wear my glasses and the sunshine, so it's like, maybe not. I'll just keep it simple.
I'm with you.
We've got the Voros with us this morning. Hi, Ryan and Julie. So glad you're with us.
Ooh, Yunstein, I love bagels. If I could have a bagel for breakfast and lunch every day, I would.
We have bagels in our house.
I know, but I'm not supposed. What did you look at my shoulder for?
I don't think I did.
Were you checking? She was checking for dandruff.
I feel like I looked at your shoulder.
That's why I try not to wear black shirts, because dandruff. You get older, dandruff. But But I'm not supposed to have a bagel twice a day. A bagel twice a day.
Oh, I'm glad you corrected that. A bagel.
So funny.
I'm not supposed to have a bagel twice a day.
No, you
but
shouldn't.
you understand, my favorite is I get a cinnamon raisin bagel with cream cheese. And then I put like a raspberry jam with it. Oh man, it's so good.
It is so good. I hope that some of you are sitting outside.
Look here, not at yourself.
But okay.
I know it feels confusing, but you got to look right here.
If you were here, I wish I could show you guys. There's a camera. There's a screen here. There's a screen over there.
This is our live stream. This is what's happening in live. This is the delayed Facebook feed. So this is what's our output, and this is where you look right here.
Okay.
Yeah.
Looking at
so that
you.
you're looking at them here.
Okay.
Here, you're looking. Every time you look over, we know what you're doing. You're looking at yourself.
Well, the comments are here too, though.
I know, but I'll move the comments. I'm just saying, everyone. I know that when you look here, how about this?
Okay, that's perfect.
That's perfect. Okay.
That's great. I love it. Okay, thanks. Do you know what? I hope that you are doing okay this morning. It's a real thing. Saturday morning, and you've got kids at your house. This is a parenting conference, so let's not deny the fact that we all have children. Well, some of us, and some are pastors of children, and will one day.
You got a frog in your throat.
All the time. I'm not sure what's wrong, but I don't have COVID, so it's okay. But the struggle is real. Trying to get Saturday morning, everyone organized, fed.
Let me give you the first tip of the day.
Sit down and
stay in bed as long as possible.
Sleep in.
Just stay in bed, and whatever happens, and just put up with the mess or the problem.
I know. But I just want to give a shout out to all
Hi,
your
Nicole.
moms and
Good you're
dads.
with us today. Glad you're with us today, Nicole.
Yes. Shout out to all the moms
Hi,
and
Julie.
dads. We already said hi to Julie.
We did?
Yes.
I didn't.
I know, you're not focusing. Join us. We're gonna nail in on this, guys, today, because
Okay.
one of our sessions is about a healthy marriage and how that actually is helpful to your kids. So it's real. We're real.
Why don't we take a minute?
See, look, Julie says she spilled maple syrup all over the floor this morning, so I get it.
See, but I think you should just I don't know. I feel like, and I have to say,
Let the maple syrup stay on the floor.
that's not what I was going to say. I wasn't going to say that.
Okay.
You're adding words in my mouth. What I was going to say is that you're a really great wife. And that I find that we have trained our children to just come into our room, and because of that, I get to stay in bed.
Oh, I see. Okay.
The great wife part was just because I interrupted her.
You're sweet. No. Ask Ryan what he feels like about maple syrup with our children.
Oh my gosh. I hate it when Brea's getting worse because Brea scrapes every last morsel of syrup off of the plate and then she sucks on that's annoying. But Ezra, I kid you not, he gets syrup from head to toe. 10 years old and still. From head to toes.
There's something about syrup, though. It just somehow crawls its way up the fork and everywhere. It just happens. It happens to me, and I'm 24.
Okay, I gotta say, if now that I know that syrup crawls, I'm never having it again.
It's a lie.
That's a absolutely disgusting thought. It's like, wow.
So true, right?
What a gross thought. Okay, that's awesome.
Well, we're going to get started because it is such a beautiful day and we want to honor your time. If you didn't already receive some of the emails from Family Life Canada, so I registered all of you through Family Life Canada's registration form, so you should have been receiving all week long some of their emails indicating what's been happening and what's happening and how to watch the different sessions and things like that. So hopefully you've been getting those and you had a chance this week to watch some of the sessions. There are a lot on there. Some of them might not pertain to where you're at with your kiddos, and so that's okay. So that was kind of the idea, was you just watch what stuck out to you and what you felt you needed to kind of brush up on. And so I know that there's been some incredible content on there. Pastor Jessi is going to be speaking to some of them that kind of link over to her youth purity night that's coming up with the youth. And Ryan and I will chat a little bit more about some, we'll focus on 3 of the other sessions, and then there's several more in there that we won't get to touch on today, but I encourage you to make some time either today or tomorrow to continue to watch them. They'll be for free on there as you notice, and then they haven't notified us yet how it works, but they said they will make those available for purchase after. And so we as a church are going to commit to looking into what that looks like and getting those resources, so that maybe you didn't get a chance to watch all of them in this week's time frame and you missed out on some that you'd like to go back and watch, or maybe maybe something will come up in the next few months in your life or in a friend's life or in a coworker's life about their kids, and you're like, hey, I think there was something about that on there. The content is really outstanding, and so we want to resource you guys. So Pastor Jessi will be your go-to gal for that. So just connect with her. She'll be able to resource you with those things. So I'll be honest, I don't know exactly how they're unfolding that piece yet. I don't think they've identified that, but as soon as they do, we'll let you know.
I think you just pay for them and then you download them, but I think we'll probably put them on the site and And I think we should consider doing another watch party together in the future, but we can talk about that more later. We're going to have a little planning sesh right now.
Tell us maybe on here
in
the comments right now, why don't you just let us know maybe your top session that you were able to watch this week that really impacted you. Just type it on into the comment section there. We'd love to see what were you able to watch this week. I know, I'll be honest guys, it was really nice weather. I didn't really feel like sitting down and watching a ton of videos, so we blasted through a few, but I will definitely be watching more later because the ones I did watch were fantastic. But I'm just being honest, when the sun shines out, I don't really want to be on my technology, so
yeah.
That's just the honest truth.
And honestly, there was a lot of them there that maybe weren't applicable to our current situation. That would be applicable as pastors, but we just chose for this week the ones we felt like really made sense to us and that we liked, and that we knew Pastor Jessi was going to handle. Some of the comments are also there. But again, we'll make those available for everybody. Yeah, porn proof.
Right? Oh my goodness.
Yeah, we're going to talk about that one today for sure. Are you talking about, or is Jessi?
Pastor Jessi.
Okay, yeah. So we're going to talk about that one today, and then just a little plug for the Spill on the Tea coming up. You know, I know Jessi and Kyle and Blake are going to be sharing in that whole topic. So I would encourage every parent to go look at the porn proof one. You know.
It was so good. I took a watch through it this morning, and that's an area that both Ryan and I are really passionate about, and I felt like, okay, I think we have a pretty good grasp on things, but some of the things...
Passionate about porn proofing.
Yes, porn proofing. And so... but some of the stuff that she even brought up in there, I was like, oh, babe, like, we've got some shoring up to do, and there were some incredible resources that she gave there. So, anyway, we won't spill it too much there. We'll let Pastor Jessi... What about Yunstein? We're with you on that, Steph.
I was just talking about how you didn't watch
yes. But the one we watched, which we felt was very beneficial now and later, is on Discipline That Connects. Yeah. I agree. That was one that stuck out to me, too.
And we're going to talk on that. So you and I will take that one today, right?
Yes. Yeah. About connecting.
Which is huge, because I think in a day and age where and we'll get into it in a minute, but where discipline is such a hot topic for all sorts of discipline, especially...
Or lack of discipline.
Or a lack of discipline, but it's either no discipline... or all physical or no physical, and you know it's a challenge. And at the end of the day, the goal isn't to correct them. The goal is to get their heart. Yeah. So we'll talk about that a little bit today. Come on, anyone else have any comments on some of the ones they liked and watched and they thought were impactful? If you got a chance to look at them, put them on the comments. Also, if you have a question for Stephanie and I, specifically related to parenting, something that maybe wasn't answered during this talk or during the videos that you watched, or maybe you needed clarity on something you saw, come on, we want to help you. As you know, we're not the gurus on parenting, but we're in the same boat you are, trying to parent great kids, and thank the Lord we have some good kiddos, but that's all by the grace of God. But if you have any questions, and then if you have any questions for Pastor Jessi, just about, you know, specifically about things that are going on in the world of kids and youth, and maybe some things you don't understand that maybe she can bring to clarity for us, that would be awesome. So don't forget to comment, and our goal is just to kind of hang out for the next 45 minutes. So if you're at the skate park, or you're just, you know, wiping off the cream cheese from your bagel, or, you know, whatever you're doing right now, cleaning syrup off the floor, just kind of enjoy. We'll hang out together, interact with us, because that's what's going to make this great, is interaction. And then just know that there will be opportunity for you to watch the rest of the videos later, as well as we will try to create an opportunity for us to maybe get together in the future and watch them together.
And before we launch into some of the sessions and breaking them down,
is it weird for me to eat this while we're...
No, I think it's okay to eat food. They ate syrup and bagels, so...
I know, but they didn't do it on here, and I'm about to eat a banana on Facebook Live and YouTube Live.
But if you also didn't catch on some of their emails that Family Life Canada sent out, you do have the opportunity, if you want to connect on some of their live Q&A sessions today. They're doing a bit of a wrap-up from their content. You have to register for those. So you have to register, and then they will send you the link if you're wanting to. So there's one, like an all-together one at 11. Our time 11, I think it's 10. It was 10 a.m. Pacific time. So our time 11, and then after that, there's specific Q&As according to specific sessions. So if there was one that really spoke to you, so if you don't have that email or you'd missed that, please just let us know. I'll just forward it to you really quickly, and then you can register so you can get the links to be able to engage with those. But we're going to connect with you here, and then we'll sign off from the day from us, but then you're welcome to continue to engage with Family Life Canada after this. And they are such a great resource, guys. Keep plugging into what they're doing. Watch our websites where you try to keep up with what they're doing there, and bring it to you guys as we are made notified of it. But they've done a really great job, and I love that it's Canadian focused. I think that really helps.
I'm going to keep partnering with them for marriages and parenting, and there's no need to rewrite the wheel or rebuild the wheel or
something like that. I'm not sure.
Rebuild it. Anyways,
Jamie Kennedy, all the way from Centralia, Washington.
I forgot to message you back, brother. I miss you too, bro. I'm sorry for that.
Good to see you.
Glad you're with us, bud.
That's awesome.
The videos will be available till tomorrow, Alyssa. Yes, they will. And again, as we mentioned, we will purchase the licensing for those. So if you don't get a chance to see them, we'll provide those on our family.
You'll just have to ask Pastor Jessi, and she'll send you.
Yeah, she'll send you the links and things like that. So why don't we get going on some of the things? Direct us.
But before we do,
you want to give away some stuff? Because
you know what, parenting and coffee go hand in hand. Because if you're a mom or a dad, you know that it's the struggle is real. Sleep is precious. Reinvent the wheel. Blake is helping you out.
Thank you, Blake. I can always count on Blake to correct me.
Not correct. You asked for help.
You're right. Let me reframe that. I can always count on Blake to...
Look, Nick is helping you too. Reinvent the wheel.
Thank you, Nick. I can always count on Nick and Blake to reinvent my language. Thank you, guys.
That's awesome.
Thank you. I appreciate the engagement.
I love it. So we want to give away, we have a few Starbucks gift cards because one is just not enough. We've got an iTunes gift card. So if you're on any road trips this summer, interprovincially perhaps is what we might have to look at. You have something fresh to download, listen with your kids, maybe some. Or can you download like Adventures in Odyssey on there?
Sure. I don't know. I don't know.
Okay, well, you do with it what you want to do with it. Let's just say that.
Let's get going, though.
Okay, so we're going to give some of these away, but I'm going to make you stick around to do that because that, a little incentive.
At the end.
So don't hop off here and leave our feed.
Sorry, Jamie, I can't get this to you, brother. You got to be physically present in Calgary, Alberta.
But we will be sending some of those gift cards out just to honor you as parents. Parenting is hard work. It's a lot of work, actually, but we love it, and we love our kiddos. So let's get going with some of the content. So, Pastor Jessi, we'd love for you to start us off with some of the sessions that you are looking at and focusing on for our youth. Take it away.
Yeah, totally. I just want to say first, I'm so excited that we were able to do this because it's been on my heart, and I've been talking with you guys around and stuff a lot about how we can partner with you parents and equip you to disciple your kids and give you the tools or the information that you may need so that you can thrive and feel supported in it. So I'm really excited that we can do this for you guys. But I mainly just focused on watching the ones about sexuality, purity, media, faith, culture, all that kind of stuff, especially gearing towards the youth. So there was I think 5 sessions on this topic, which was a lot, out of 9 sessions, there was 5 of them about it. So it was awesome for me to just be able to learn from people who are parents and who have walked with their kids through this journey about how to just open up the conversation about purity, sex, and sexuality. And I think that's what came, all the 5 sessions, all of them came down to be willing to have communication with your kids and just opening up the conversation. And I think the last one I watched was the porn proofing your kids, and she mentioned that it was having 1,000 little conversations instead of having one big one with your kids, because I think it can be so daunting to be okay, how do I talk to my kids about sex and sit them down and then be tell them all the things and everything's about the birds and the bees. But I think that perspective of just integrating it into your everyday life and into your relationship with your kids, so it's coming from a place of we love you and we want to support you and guide you every day, and not just have it hinge on having this one conversation.
Yes.
So I think that was good. So I'll start with the porn proofing or porn protecting your kids. And kind of what she said was just how it's important to teach your kids to have an internal, what did she? I have my notes in front of me so I can get it right. But having an internal filter and teaching your kids to have that internal filter, so whatever they see and pops up on the internet or even around the store, she mentioned one thing, they were in chapters, and a daughter saw something on a magazine and was like, that's porn.
Yeah.
It's like, wow, that's crazy. But just like being able to teach them to have an internal filter where when they see it, they can choose to turn away and focus on a better picture.
Yes.
And training our kids to train their brains on to focus on what's right and good and pure and godly and all those things. So she just mentioned the 3 big things is to put up blockers. So having those like covenant eyes and various things that we can put to help protect them and help like give them a way to like float through the internet or life that'll set them up for success. And it's like a way to help them and support them, and then to navigate their internet with your child. And to teach them how to filter in information or sites or just make smart decisions of where they're going on the internet. And then let them know that you're still there for them. And if they need help when they're navigating the internet on their own, you're like, I'm still here to help you if you need it. And so I really liked her perspective of partnering with your kids.
Yes.
And just making sure that they feel like they can say like, hey, I saw this on the internet.
Yes.
And just like asking questions that will allow them to just open up of what they've saw and what they've experienced and to celebrate their communication.
Yeah.
I think that was really big.
I agree. I also loved some of her resources that she gave at the end of that. And I thought it was really interesting. I don't know if you were able to watch that session kind of near the end. She talks about like the covenant eyes. There's a website called Protect Young Minds. Fight the New Drug is a website that's really helpful. And then a book that I thought was so interesting because she has it. Because if you're on here today and you've got younger kids and you're like, oh, this isn't really for me yet, I'm not there about porn or whatever. The books that she recommended, it's called Good Pictures, Bad Pictures. And there's one of them that's for ages like 2 to 6, I think it was, or something like that. And then one that's for 6 to 12-year-olds. And I thought, whoa, we're talking about porn with like young kids. And I think it was true when she said it and she recommended it. Obviously, they've tailored one of the books for a little bit of a younger mind. But just recognizing that it's never too early to have those conversations and to make sure that we're setting our kids up for success and making them feel like they're not bad. Because I think what was just a good reminder is that maybe in the past, porn has been something that you would have to seek out on your own, but now it's like pushed at our kids, right? And so now it's like, hey, if you saw something, you're not bad. Like, it's everywhere, but let's talk about what you saw and how did that make you feel, and let's talk through it and it's not a shaming of them and how they've maybe tried to process some of those images that they've seen, because the reality is they probably will see it, even if we have protections.
Yeah, you will.
She even told a story about a little kid who was safely in between their parents on an airplane, sitting there, and he was maybe 4 or 5 years old, and the person in front of them on the long international flight, mom and dad were asleep on either side of the kid, but the person in front of them was watching porn on their device, and that little boy peeked through the seats and watched the whole thing, right? So you're trying your best as a parent to protect your kids, but you don't know what they're being exposed to. So instead of saying, oh, you're bad, it's like, hey, you saw something, okay, I get it, let's talk about that now, and keeping that open and realizing that it's never too young to start that conversation.
And it's important to remember, just on a biblical level, that when Adam and Eve sinned, they felt shame. Why? Because they were naked.
Right.
And what shame does is shame causes you to close in on yourself. Shame causes you to hide. What did they do? They hid, they ran out of shame. So when a young person sees pornography or sees nudity or sees something like that, their first inherent response is to close in. And so it's to create an environment where shame is not allowed, where openness and vulnerability. I mean, the Bible says that if you confess your sins one to another, you'll be healed. That applies to a 5-year-old just like it applies to a 15-year-old.
Yeah.
The other thing is, I just want to add to this, is that I really believe that it's hard to set a standard of porn-proofing your family if the adults are not porn-proofed.
Yes. Yeah.
And I think that it's important to recognize that one of the biggest issues facing our day, when my kids were young, I mean, my daughter's 12, my son's 10, this wasn't as big of an issue as it is now.
Yeah.
So I can imagine like Aiden and, the different kids that are watching today, Ella and different people like that, maybe the younger generation watching, they are like more facing it than even my children did. But it's just important across the board that you remember, like, you cannot set a standard for your children if you are not adhering to that standard.
That's good.
And it's important for us as adults to recognize that, wow, I have to believe porn is bad. Or let me re-say that. We have to believe that porn is not a healthy thing to engage in. It's not a healthy thing for marriage. It's not a healthy thing for children. It's just not a healthy thing across the board. And if we struggle with that, and if we struggle to take that position, you're not going to have a lot of victory trying to porn-proof your kids.
Yeah, no,
so I just want to encourage the parents watching, or maybe you don't have kids, or you're old or young, whatever. I want to encourage you to have covenant eyes. You say, well, I am an adult, I don't need it. Listen, I'm a 39-year-old man and I have covenant eyes on my everything. And so I want to encourage you to have a conversation together as a family. Hey, I know this sucks. I know this is not fun. I know that this infringes on some of your freedoms. But we want to make sure that you are keeping accountable, and there's partnership between the spouses and or whoever in your life, so that you can create a porn-proof environment. You cannot create that for your children if you haven't created that for yourself.
Yeah.
And so
that's a good reminder.
Just encourage you with that.
Yeah, and I think it's important too, like they reminded us, it's not just a boy thing, and the stats are shifting, and it's becoming boys and girls who are involved in that.
And a lot of that's because the media is targeting women in that way. They're trying, there's a lot of, we want to, they're fighting for these rights for different things, which, as a follower of Jesus, my wife and I are equals, but we have different roles, but we're equals. But in our culture, they want to try to normalize, shift the script a little bit. And I think that what's happening is it's impacting women on a higher level than ever.
And I think, sorry, Pastor Jessi, if we're stealing your thunder, this is just such a, oh my goodness,
we're
such
passionate
a passionate
about this.
topic.
Sorry.
But the other piece that I thought
we should have started the ones that we hated.
Another really exciting research that she brought to the table in that session was that, yes, it's a bit of a sacrifice to put these protection pieces in place and things like that, but the research actually shows they showed a brain that in terms of being satisfied sexually, okay, so she was talking about how on a brain that they showed us scientific images of that it's into pornography and it's trying to satisfy themselves that way. There's just these really narrow brain pathways that are not deep and they're not gratifying. So you're not getting like a deep sexual gratification.
It's not intimacy.
But then they showed a brain with somebody who had just spent their life with one person and connected with them sexually and found their sexual satisfaction within that marriage relationship with that one person, and actually in the brain shows this like deep crevice of like deep satisfaction. So when you're engaging sexually, you get, oops, did it turn off?
It'll come back.
Sorry. When you're engaging sexually with that one person over a lifetime, you actually have this like really deep sexual satisfaction, which I think is great, because let's just be honest, we're looking for deep sexual satisfaction. You don't want just like this, like, oh, that was okay, but it wasn't great. We want that deep satisfaction. So I think like what a win for purity and for fighting for these causes, because you actually get better sex, and hallelujah for better sex for us and for our kids moving forward. So I thought that was a good win.
Yeah, and that's what really stood out to me at the end of her session, is just even remembering God's why. It's not just saying like porn is bad,
right?
But it's like, what is like porn is like it's like the false version of what God wants to give us. You know, it actually steals away from us what God has intended for us to be really, really good. And even just talking with our teens and opening the conversation of like, what do you want your marriage to look like? What is your goal for dating relationships, or how you want to feel, who you want to date and marry, their characters or whatever, and letting them like think of what they want to experience and what they want their life to look like, and be like, okay, how are you working towards those goals?
Absolutely.
You know, and as Christians, we have that, God has this goal for our life, and so if we want to experience what He has for us, what are we doing now that'll actually get us there?
So good.
Awesome.
Such a good session. Watch it.
We'll have to come back to that one for sure, and we will. I think that was awesome. What's next?
what other ones, Pastor Jessi, while we're on this topic, that you watched that were helpful?
And don't forget to comment and comment on below.
Or if you have a question about that session.
Go ahead, Jessi.
Yeah, I think the other one, just for the sake of time, that I'll cover is the first one I watched by Preston Sprinkles, just because I like his last name. So fun. But it's
sounds like a nice guy.
Right? Engaging the LGBTQ conversation, and just how as Christians we can begin to love and support kids who are just having these desires come up, and just be able to talk them through it. And I think that was the crazy thing that I heard in his session, is that like we tend to think that it's an outside of the church thing, it's a world and culture thing, but actually like kids and teens and youth and young adults are struggling with it inside the church. But there's just been such a culture of that is so bad, and like condemnation around it, that they've been struggling in silence, which is actually how they're beginning to engage in this lifestyle and actually leave the church,
right?
Because they felt so isolated, and they can't wrestle with these desires and emotions within community, and in a community that will actually point them towards the truth of who they are and who God says they are. And that just because they are feeling this way doesn't mean they have to act and live this way.
Yeah.
And that those desires define who they are. And so that one was a really big one for me, and I'm really passionate about that conversation. And he just talked about how we need to uphold the truth of what God says about marriage, but also embody a radical grace of Jesus, and just be willing to support and partner with people who are struggling with that. And I've seen so many testimonies from people who have lived a lesbian lifestyle, encountered Jesus, and then got into community. And there's one lady, her book, Good Girl, Gay God, of Jackie Hill Perry, such a great book. And she just talks about how she allowed Jesus to define her identity and not her emotions or her desires. And now she's in a really healthy, amazing marriage to a man who loves Jesus with kids. Or there's other people who just say, man, I'll never be able to be attracted to the opposite sex, but I'm going to choose God's way and Jesus' way, and to live in singleness so I can devote myself to what God has called me to. And I think it comes down to his point that love is so much bigger than just sex. Our culture says that if you love somebody, you have sex with them, or like love is sex. But actually love is about, like the Bible says that we are to love our neighbors. And Preston even says it doesn't mean go have sex with your neighbors or go have sex with your enemies. But like sex and sex, like having that relationship in marriage is just one way to express godly love. But there's like this whole vast array of other ways that we can love people and experience love and acceptance and support and encouragement that isn't sex.
Yeah, it's interesting. It's fascinating. It's good stuff. It's easy to forget that when we become followers of Jesus, if you're in the church long enough, you begin to think that the church is only for people who got their stuff together. But we have to remember that sanctification process means that we're all being sanctified by Christ. So we might have things going on in our world that maybe society tells us is okay, that God's working out of our life, and it could be from homosexuality to all sorts of different things that people struggle in their lives. And so we have to recognize that that should be a conversation we're having.
It is.
In the church.
It is. It was a good reminder too. Some of the stats were like 1 in 6 kids identify as other than a straight gender, and then that the other stat was really interesting. I think it was like something like, I don't know, 83%. Correct me if I'm wrong. Within the notes that of kids that are identifying as other than straight have come from a church background, which I thought was shocking. So I think it is a really important conversation, and I love. Laura said that she watched how it was really good. Alana said, yes, that's one James and I watched, so good. I know we will be dealing with this subject as Isabella goes into junior high and is exposed to more of this. It's happening. I'm in the schools. It's real. It's happening. So this is an important conversation. I don't think that any of us feel like totally equipped yet to or understand what we're dealing with, but I think it's good to just be aware and begin the conversation.
And I think it's important to remember that nothing is new under the sun. That Paul wrote to the book of the church in Corinth dealt with these very same issues. And so we can't, it's not something new, or the media didn't come up with this new idea. it's been a part of our culture forever. And at the end of the day, everyone just needs a personal relationship with Christ and find themselves in Jesus. And I think that they're hard conversations, but they are definitely good ones to have, especially with your children. And I know we talk a lot with our kids about it, and we want them to know what the Bible says, the truth, but we also want them to understand that the truth of the Bible does not mean that we no longer have a compassion and a love and a deep try to understand people on where they're coming from and why they experienced that, and we don't know their story, and so it's easy to say bad, but it's important that we say, oh man, I need to hear what's going on in their world, and man, what's going on in their life, and what's their story, and so it's good to have that conversation.
Blake's comment says, I also really appreciated the comment, LGBT people are not issues, they're friends, and I agree. It's a good reminder.
Come on, that's great. Come on, we want to keep on moving. Oh, and Blake says, which just puts it into perspective how common this is. Kids these days will have LGBT friends. Yeah, and it's true. And as being pastoring for 19, 20 years, I've had a lot of times some my wife doesn't know about that have talked to me about these issues and things, or different people of different times in our marital counseling, or different things that have happened where we've talked to people, and it's easy as a Christian to hear someone say that and immediately something in us goes right. But I just remember that, like, and I know this is probably a controversial comment to make, but sin is sin. And in the eyes of God, sin is sin, and in the eyes of us, we're all dealing with areas of our own life, and I recognize that in my own journey, and that empathy and that compassion to recognize, man, Jesus saved my soul, Jesus saved my life, and I am just on the same journey they're on, and I have experienced sanctification, transformation of the Lord, and in my life, and become whole, and I pray that they can experience the same thing in their life, and so I love it. Hey Wade, good to see you, bud. Man, Wade Steele. Hey, buddy. Wade Steele, great discussion. Keep up the great work. Awesome. Thanks, buddy.
I love it.
Hope you and Lisa are doing well. All right, Jessi, you got one more in there? Is that right?
For the sake of time, we can just move on, because a lot of the ones about sexuality, we're just coming back to the same point of open the conversation, watch your tone, partner with your kids. That's kind of
and just as a little plug, spilling the tea again, I think that we're going to continue these types of conversations, and Pastor Jessi, you did a great job by instigating these things. This will be our second one, and that's all been on your own doing, or someone can correct me and tell me, your own initiative. That's what the word is. So great job. So let's just keep the conversation open, and we're gonna create a place for parenting and marriages at our church, and you're doing a great job.
Yeah. So we'll shift into some of the other sessions that were on there. The first one by the Josephsons, who kind of lead Family Life Canada, they talk about their session was giving your kids the security of a healthy marriage. And so this kind of links back, if you had the chance to join us for our marriage conference, it was fantastic. That's a great foundation. Once again, if you missed out on some of those sessions, we can resource you there too. We just want to resource you guys. I know we obviously want to be all together, but during this season of COVID stuff happening, especially across Canada, we're still very isolated in our homes, and so let us send you stuff, let us resource you the best we can, and also if you're struggling with something, let us know. We'd love to connect with you and partner with you as a parent. But just a few little tidbits from that particular session, which I think are so important, that link back to that marriage conference and why a lot of you did that, and moving forward, is that the degree of security that we feel is correlated to the depth of commitment we make, meaning that when we choose to commit to one another, and when we choose to make that a priority, and we choose to plan a date night like they had said in that marriage session, or go away once a year together, and make those investments in our marriage, it's not just for us, it's actually really benefiting our kids. Our kids, I know Ryan and I have a really open, loud communication in our home, and our poor kids have to filter through what that looks like, and there are we try our best to really appropriately talk about things in front of our kids, but we also
coach our kids while we're going through that.
Yes, we also intentionally talk about certain things and bring it back to a resolution,
so they can see it
in a timely manner, that within those few hours, so that they can understand how to do that themselves and see that we're good, that we can have hard conversations and yet still come.
It's easy just to take it behind a closed door all the time.
Right. And so, but I know that there have been moments where we've had disagreements or whatever, and need a little bit of time apart before we can resolve it properly. And that scares the kids. And that, and the kids have been,
and the resolution is that I'm right.
No. So I want to encourage you guys to
Just
continue to fight for your marriages. Let us know how we can partner with you guys. This is not just for you. This is for generations to come that you're investing into your marriage relationship.
But I think the point of what you were saying is that, before I rudely interrupted you, was that when we would fight like that and there'd be resolve, there'd be a fear.
Yes.
There was a fear of, mainly from Brea, oh, you guys are going to get divorced.
Right. Because majority of their kids, friends at school come from divorced homes,
so
right?
she's you're gonna get divorced, and it's like, oh, no, like that's not allowed in our life, like, we're not allowing that. But one of the ways that we reinforce to our children now, Brea, Ezra deals with a little bit of some anxiety, which we'll talk about also here today. And now when we go away, Ezra starts to freak out, and Brea says, no, Ezra, they have to go away. They have to go away. Because if they don't go away, this is what's going to keep them together. This is what's going to keep them from, in love. And it sounds like I'm saying it's from a place of fear, but it's not. She's communicating from a place of, we've tried to train her that having a secure marriage and making those investments and spending that money and getting away from your children. And can I just say this as an encouragement, really for both parents, but, being willing to let the children go to a sitter. Yeah. Or being willing to let the child, cry a little bit when they're with someone else. Being willing to maybe not let your kids have a perfect situation, because a lot of times I think marriage couples don't engage in that time together because one of the party, mine may not always be the mom, maybe it's a dad too, are overly concerned about the safety or the health of their child, which is good, but that sometimes becomes potentially an excuse to keep you from engaging in that intimate moment because all their mind thinking about is your child and the other spouse is thinking about you, and it creates a little bit of a problem.
And more so now than ever with COVID, because it's really, there's nowhere to really go except for maybe a walk. So this is a time more than ever, I think, where you have to fight for this within your home, within your marriage. Figure out something creative. Have somebody come and hang out with your kid in the backyard if that's what your level of comfortability is at this point, so that you can still go for a walk with your wife by yourself without the distraction of your kids or whatever it looks like.
And just to add to that last thing about the arguing together, I know each of you had different ways you were raised, and some of you are like, oh, I'm never going to fight in front of my kids because my parents did that, and I get that sentiment. So my parents didn't fight, and I never think I ever saw my parents argue in public ever. They did it behind closed doors. Steph's parents, they didn't fight, but they would, they're more vocal, probably in public environments, but probably protected that as well. Let me encourage you that letting your children see you work through controversy together.
Yeah, healthy conflict.
What that does is that actually creates an understanding that, okay, when mom and dad fight, it doesn't mean they're gonna go away. Mm-hmm. When my mom and dad argue or mom and dad come to a disagreement, it's an opportunity to show them how to have healthy conflict resolution, to have those tough conversations. So now my kids understand that if there becomes an intense conversation, we will land this plane. Yeah. The plane will land. And there's a few ways we do that. We hear, we repeat back to each other. But the point is that the way to create a bit of that security in them is to say, even when we face rocky moments in our relationships, even when we face hard times, we are committed to each other. Just like my personal relationship with Jesus. I ain't never going to give up on Christ, even if my life turns out like I didn't want it to look at. I'm not going to say, well, see you, God. I'm committed to Jesus, and because I'm committed to Jesus, my kids can see that. And they see, because of my relationship with the Lord, I'm going to be committed to her, even when I don't like her very much. I'll always love her, but there are a lot of moments when I don't like her. That's for sure. She drives me bananas. Just kidding. But
the feeling is mutual.
but having that opportunity to teach your children, conflict does not mean we're pulling the ripcord.
Yeah.
Conflict just means we're deepening the roots of our relationship. We will land this plane, and there will be nothing that will separate this relationship. Yeah. So the security of that.
That's so good.
Maybe the next thing.
Please continue to comment. Let us know if you have any questions or further thoughts that stuck out to you as we continue to go. We're going to move into the one about anxiety by Jen Dean. And I just thought it was really helpful, not only for kiddos, but there were some points in there that I found even helpful as a mom, just dealing with, because I think I don't know, maybe I'm the only one, but sometimes as moms, we worry about our kids a little bit too much and, worry about where they are and what they're doing and who they're with and what choices they're making or who's saying what to them or whatever. So I think out of that session, I think it pulled things out, not only for ways to help our kids, which is ultimately what we want to do, but also ways to be healthy in our own life. And it kind of links back to that really for all these sessions is, are we healthy as parents first? If not, then it's going to be really hard to have healthy kids if we're not ourselves working and preparing to become all that we can be. And so the anxiety part was really interesting, just about talking about, they have a little, you can click on the notes if you wanted to see the little diagram, but it talks about, there's an anxiety roundabout where you start with when your child or you are alarmed, and then it goes into caution, adaptation, and courage, and how sometimes we get stuck on this roundabout and we're just stuck in the alarm spot and we don't know how to deal with that. But the goal is we can some of the anxiety is actually not bad, and sometimes it's like a good, like, hey, you feel an alarm for this particular situation or whatever, and that we want to teach our kids the difference between, hey, that's healthy to be worried about those potential things that you need to prepare for, but at the same time, these are the things that don't need to be alarming in your life, and that we can work through and we can find strategies to be successful in, and kind of looking at, is this like a small problem or a big problem? And sometimes for our little ones, it kind of they can turn a small thing into a really huge problem, and us as parents need to help them navigate through that. I like how Laura says, I liked how it says it's not about minimizing sadness. Absolutely. And how we can partner with them. We can help them learn, hey, right now let's just take some deep breaths. That kind of leads us into the caution part, where we can maybe try and reduce some of that alarm, and then move into adaptation, which I thought was interesting. They said, which goes back to the series that you did about Joseph, but like sometimes just get in the pit with your kids and talk about these hard things that they're dealing with. And like, hey, I know for our son, it was, hey, I'm afraid you're going to die. And that was his big fear. And it caused a lot of conflict within our home, but I think we were afraid to even go there in that conversation until we sought counsel and went to counseling. And she said, no, let's talk about that fear. Like, don't be afraid to have those. What
are you afraid of? Like, what's the worst case scenario?
Let's talk about those things and help kind of put an actual reality to what it is that's going on in their little minds. And then, but
which on a side note, attached to a Superman episode he had seen, because Spider-Man's parents die.
Right.
And then his grandparent dies. And I let him watch the show, not realizing that he attached that now to this general fear that we're going to die.
Right.
So.
Yeah. So there's, it comes up, actually, probably a lot of Disney movies. The moms or dads
they're all dead,
passed away. So it's a real thing. If your kids are watching any sort of media, they're
just
probably
be careful.
Encountering
they might be registering
stuff.
some of these fears. It's like, oh my gosh, every Disney episode a parent dies.
Yeah. So, and then some of it is, hey, maybe we can't overcome that particular fear, and that it will still come up from time to time. But to equip them with courage. That's the final one of how to be courageous, even in light of the fact that you are feeling anxious, and that's okay to feel anxious, but let's talk about who God has made you to be, and that you can be courageous and you can be strong, and it's okay to feel those things, but you can still do hard things.
And I think that so I'll just be raw with you. The challenges, so as you know, I struggle with anxiety, so I'm a bit of a hypocrite when I say this out loud, is that dealing with these type of issues, let's just say anxiety, but even Laura said not minimizing sadness. Man, it is so easy when this anxiety or this emotion, whatever emotion they're feeling, whether it's anger or sadness or fear, when that impedes on what we are trying to do, when it causes a challenge where, man, we need to leave on time, and we need to go to we have a 7:00 dinner appointment, and Ezra's losing his mind out of fear. My temptation is, which is hypocritical because I can struggle with those areas too, is to say, you're not afraid. Like, just get over it. Like, it's what you think's going to happen. There's no need to be anxiety. What's your problem? Like, I have fallen into that trap a lot.
Yeah.
And the root of it is selfishness.
Right.
The root of it is lack of patience. The root of it is I don't want to stop. And it all boils down to being patient as a father and being patient as a mother, and recognizing that at the end of the day, like, what I'm going to or what I'm going to do is really important, but their acceptance of the fact that it's okay that I feel this way and I'm not a bad person, that I'm afraid that my mom's going to leave and I'm nervous and I can't handle it. And I bought him a dog and we got a doorbell and we did all these things. And I'm like, dude, I did this, and this for you. Why are you still struggling with this? Again, which is very hypocritical. So I recognize that. But just to say like out loud to those of you, I'll be the bad example, I guess, is just to be careful that you're not being selfish. That you're not allowing your selfishness as a dad or a mom. Another thing is the fear downstairs, or like, let's just say you want to put your kids to bed and they're afraid. And all you want to do is get in bed and watch that Netflix episode.
Right.
Right? All you want to do is go upstairs and sit with your wife and do something fun, but they're struggling downstairs. And so you have to take that extra time to be patient, to love them and encourage them. And I'm probably the only one that struggles with this, so maybe I'm just venting my own life out. But just a recognition that like these are the seasons when they are 1 to 12 years old, 1 to 10 years old, when they're a little younger, is the season where their emotional and mental health takes precedence over the Netflix show. Their mental health and their emotional state and their walk with Christ takes precedence over that ball game you want to watch or that thing you're going to do. Those children, and it's hard. And what we're doing is, on a biblical level, we are dying to ourselves. We are taking up our cross. We are laying down our lives. We are following Jesus. We're doing what Jesus did for us. He sent his son to die in the same way we're trying to die for our children, so that when my son deals with anxiety on a regular basis, we're able to humanize that thing and say, this is real. I'm sorry you're struggling with this. How can I help you with it? What can we do? I think that's the only way to see change, is when they feel like they've been heard and that they're being able to be partnered with and that they can be honest about how they're feeling and not be minimized, as Laura said.
Yeah. So good.
I hope that made sense. Did it make sense?
It did.
Or did I just look like a terrible father?
No. I think if we're all honest, whether you're a morning person or a nighttime person, there are times in the day where you have to dig real deep in your well for patience to deal with stuff that comes up with your kids. And so I think that
our next lead team meeting, I'm like, why did the church attendance just go down? Why did people leave the church? Well, they heard how bad of a dad Ryan was.
Well, we are running out of time. I wish we could go over more. The next session we were going to talk about was discipline that connects with your child's heart. And so,
can we just touch on it for 2 minutes?
Sure.
I think this is really, really important. And Pastor Jessi, I'd love to have another time where we set something up to talk about discipline. Discipline, I find with all parents, they're either corporal punishment, where you're beating your kid or whatever. You're just all physical spanking. When I grew up, my dad, he would look at it now, but I would get spanked, with a leather belt. You know what I mean? And it was just what they did. Or there's no punishment, where you're giving a 2-year-old a consequence when they can't even really process the consequence. And I think that you have to choose what's best for your children. Ezra didn't do well with physical punishment, where we would give him a little tap on the bum. He would just not respond to that. So Ezra responded really well to being alone in his room for his age. However the age is, Brea responded well to timeout. So I think you really got to make sure that you're open to every healthy, godly discipline. But here's the point, and I think it's important that we talk about this and say this before we go. It's okay if we go over 2 minutes, 3 minutes. That the goal of discipline is to capture their heart. And that's what this session was about.
Yeah, to capture their heart and to help them understand, like, these were the kind of the main things, that you're safe with your parents, that you're loved no matter what, that you're responsible for your actions, so there are consequences based on your actions. And so those are some of the you're safe, loved, you're called and capable, and you're responsible for what you've done. And so I think it's not just saying, here's a discipline, now you're punished. It's partnering with your kids so that they can actually begin to create and to be able to recognize ways that they can now live themselves into their teenhood, into adulthood, so that they can make wise choices. And it's not just us telling them what to do, but they are taking responsibility for their own actions, and they are partnering with and starting to understand what it looks like to make wise choices. Because it's not just a kid thing, then you become a teen or an adult and your parents aren't disciplining you that way anymore, but you still have consequences for your actions, right? And so how do we teach our kids to begin to to learn how to do that on their own and build those skills so they can be successful moving forward. We only have them for maybe 18 years in our home, and then they've got another 60, 70 years to live life on their own.
Yeah. And this is one thing that we really, from an early age with our kids, tried to teach them, is that the only reason I'm disciplining you, outside of being obviously a healthy contributor to society, we want you to be a good husband one day or wife one day. We want you to, we want you to succeed in life. But one thing that I've realized is that, and what we try to teach our children, is that whenever we discipline you, the goal is that if I am your natural version of God, like I'm not saying I'm God to them, but their natural representation on earth of their heavenly Father is me. Of God or that father figure is me, or even Stephanie. This parenting unit as one represents their ability. So I say, the reason I want you to obey the first time, that's why we never counted 1, 2, 3, because in my mind I'm giving them 3 opportunities to disobey me. And so I say, no, you're gonna listen the first time. First time I ask you to do something, you do it. And here's why. Because when the Holy Spirit comes to you and convicts you and asks you to do something, I want you to respond immediately to the voice of the Holy Spirit. Because you recognize that when you don't, there are consequences for not being obedient to God. That in order to live a godly life, the Bible says that if you obey His commands and do not waver from them, you will be successful in all that you do. Joshua chapter 6, Joshua chapter 1, all these different verses on that. And so we took that and said, okay, we're going to teach our children how to hear the voice of God by learning how to hear our voice for their benefit. And the goal wasn't just that they behave right. Because remember, you and I, within a relationship with God, before you ever behaved, you belonged. That whole saying, you belong to God. He cares about you and loves you, and He wants to have a relationship with you. Well before you stop doing that bad behavior, He loves you. And before you even believed in God, before you even turned your life to Him, you still belong to Him. He created you. He's your dad. He's your father. So you belonged well before you behaved and well before you believed. And in the same way, our children, you belong. And I need to teach you that you belong to me no matter what. No matter what you do in your life, I love you. But there are consequences for not listening to my voice. And that consequence is, and for us, it was this. Number 1, we would time them out. That was a timeout. I think it's an age-old thing that works for little kiddos. Timeouts work. They do. And maybe your kid didn't do a timeout. Well, you have to be consistent. The second thing was consequences. Yeah. We would give them consequences. And third is at the time, we haven't done this in a long, long time, but we would, there would be a moment of physical moment where there would be a contact on their bum. And in that season before, a long time ago, I don't remember the last time we've done that, we barely ever had to get to level 3, ever. Because we had these patterns of, hey, this is what's going to happen. There is major consequence here if you don't adhere to these first levels of discipline. And isn't God the same way? When we make a mistake, God says, hey, I'm going to forgive you, but I need you to obey. Yeah. And then we don't obey. And then He says, okay, the discipline's going to increase. Hebrews chapter 12 says that God disciplines those He loves. Yeah. Discipline your children because you love them. Yeah. If you say, well, I don't want to be mean, Dad, well, then you're not showing your love for them. Because our love for our children comes through our discipline. And so I want to encourage you with that, like Steph said, the goal is to get their heart and turn their hearts to Christ and to teach them to know Jesus and teach them to know their Heavenly Father and continue to partner with them toward a relationship. So
yeah, I love what Brittany says. Yeah, that's so good. Partnering with your kids to make wise choices. I find young kids even understand this.
Yes,
100%.
They do.
They really do. They know more, I think, than we'd like to believe.
Right.
that they are already understanding the depths of things in such a great way. So we're going to give away some prizes. This is what I want you to do. If you're still on here with us, put the ages of your kiddos on the comment box. So just don't have to say what their names are or whatever, but just throw their ages on there, and then I'm gonna.
I don't really know what you're gonna do. This is interesting.
This is so fun.
Oh wow! So just put the ages of your kids on the comments real quick, or kid or kids, and that means that you need to pick up the phone now and put your fingers, type something in. So this will be the real test if people are watching with us today. It's a little delayed, so we'll see.
Yes, but type that in, and like we said, if you're wanting to engage
10, okay, Alana.
If you're wanting to engage with the content with Family Life Canada,
7, 12, 13, 8, 12, 13. Oh wow, Tyler and Laura had different numbers.
Oh no.
I think Ella turned 8, Tyler.
Tyler said 7, 12, 13. Laura said 8, 12, 13. Julie, 6 and 3.
6 and
Nick,
3.
7, 2 and 7. Ryan, 6 and 3. I'm glad Ryan and Julie are on the same page.
5 and 7. Well, in 2 weeks she'll be 7. Everly.
5 and 6, almost 7. Okay.
I love it. But yes, if you wanted to engage, 8. If you wanted to engage with Family Life Canada moving forward, you need to go on their website and register on that link so that they can send you that information just before we log off here. But we do want to give away some prizes so that you can. There's a 30. Yes, Alana. I think every wife gets to throw their husband's age on there too because the struggle's real.
And Via, 6 months old.
Oof. Yeah.
Wow.
So she's 3.5, guys, in human years. Okay. So how do we do this? Like, what are you going to do?
Well, I want to give one away to so let me just go back and look at all these ages.
Are you just going to like hand pick?
No, 7, 12, 13, 6, and 3. I wanted to do something to the youngest. We've got 2 2-year-olds on here as the youngest. Who... So it's between Nick and Junstein here.
This could break down real fast if you didn't think this through.
No, I think that the people who have
40, Ike still has 3.
I think if you have a young kid, you need the most coffee. That's just my personal opinion. So I want to reward opinion. I want to reward those who are in the really deep throes of young parenthood because I think those are the years that can be super challenging in terms of sleep. So our 2-year-olds. We're going to give you both, Nick and Junstein, we're going to give you guys to your families.
Kids are whining for going outside.
Yeah. So we're going to give you guys coffee to Nick and your wife and Junstein and Marley. You guys are going to be getting these. So we will be mailing these to you. See you, Nick. Thanks for joining on. Aiden's 2 on April 29th. He's not even 2, so he is probably younger. But either way, to the Peterseys and to the Marshalls, I said your last name wrong. I know Junstein and Marley, but you guys are going to get these. And then on the opposite end of the spectrum, for those with our teenage kids, I think our oldest one goes to the Sipes family, and so we are going to send the Sipes family this $25 gift card to...
Which they're an Android family, so that might be a problem.
Oh, well...
Oh, no.
They're all an Android family?
All an Android family. You guys have any Apple devices, Tyler? Would you guys use this? Because I don't mind keeping it, you know? I mean, like... Come on, Tyler and Laura, would you guys use this? Because we want to give it to you because you guys have a lot of kids, and it's like, oh my gosh.
Well, they have the oldest kid of the bunch.
The oldest kid of the bunch.
They win for a 13-year-old, so we got...
And then I think Isabella is right after that, the Pillies.
And then Isabella.
Yes. I have apples. Laura has apples, so there you go.
Laura does. Okay. Well, you guys can have this then, okay? 25 gift certificate for you to buy an app, Laura, or some music, or who buys music anymore? Do people do that?
I don't know.
I don't think people
You're in
buy
charge
music,
of that in my house, so I don't know.
Okay, Laura, this is for you. Tyler doesn't get any of it because, you know.
Thank you for joining us.
We love you guys. Jessi, thanks for doing a great job today. Tamara's 10.
Tamara's 10. But let us, please be in touch with us. Let us know reach out to Pastor Jessi and let her know of any of the sessions that you may have missed. I think they're available free till maybe end of today or tomorrow, but after that you'll have to just let us know, and we would love to resource you guys as parents or friends of yours that are struggling.
Yep. However we can help you guys, we want to make a push towards marriages and parenting in our church, and we're going to keep doing more of these things, so expect them. And hey, next time invite people to join you. It's going to be great.
Have a great Saturday. Go outside, enjoy the sun.
We love ya.
Before it snows tomorrow.
Oh my gosh, Lord help us. All right, love you guys.